All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Nate Ivy in the air chair. Let's give it a minute because we're not on Facebook this morning. We're going to be on YouTube. And today's show is posted on our Ascend Digital Media page, my personal page, the Nathan Ivy Show page as well, nathanivy.com. Today's show is brought to you by my Patreon page, the Nathan Ivy Show Patreon page. Support our movement to amplify Black voices, progressive voices in the greater Cincinnati area and beyond. Good morning to you. Oh, by the way, this is the last honest place in America. Good morning. On today's show, I want to talk about a recent Ohio court, really the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that teachers need to have police-level training in order to carry guns in schools. And perhaps this case in Ohio will have ramifications throughout the entire country. You know, it's been a raging debate on some levels about whether teachers should be allowed to carry guns. I've debated individuals over the last couple of years. I want to get your thoughts this morning. Will this make our schools more or less or more safe? Is it ridiculous to ask teachers to have police-level training? What is police-level training? I'll answer all those questions this morning. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. What's up, choppers? Good morning, good morning.
Get to the chopper!
Get to the choppers. Let's get it. One man, one microphone, one mission. It's the Nathan Ivy Show, and we're live on YouTube. Now, if you're catching us on YouTube, like coming across the stream, and you're like, oh, this show is pretty dope. Who the hell is this dude? I've been doing it for years. We've been doing it for years. You feel welcome. Consider this an invitation to join the conversation. Good morning, good morning. How are you? And wherever, go ahead and subscribe to the show. That way you'll get a notification whenever we go live. This is a morning show. Hold on one second. I want to make sure that I put us on, that I put the proper things in so people can see the show. One second. All right, great. I think we good now. We good to go. Good morning to you. Let me jump inside the chop shop. Brenda writes, happy Thursday. CG Dub writes, good morning, choppers. Good morning to you. Brandon writes, good morning, Nathan and the choppers. Good morning to you. Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and the choppers. Good morning to you. Now, you might be saying, choppers, what are you talking about? Well, we chop up the topics and each other from time to time. Today is a very special day for me. It's a very special day for a couple of reasons. Number one, I woke up this morning. I'm relatively healthy. Things are going well. Life is good. And then number two, today is my daughter's 16th birthday. So take a second. I'll be talking about the last 16 years raising now medium Buddha. She's not big Buddha yet. She thinks she is, but she's not. From little Buddha to medium Buddha. And it's been a very interesting experience. I mean, for me, sometimes she'll walk into a room I'm in, let's say the living room or the bedroom, and you just see this tall human in your house. And I'm telling you, it just shocked me for a while. Like, what in the hell? What in the hell? What's going on? It just shocked me at first. Like, who is this human? Right? Who is this tall human in my refrigerator? Talking, eating, drinking, vibing. And now she's 16 and she's 2 years away from being grown. And it's wild. It's been a hell of a ride. You know, I talk about my children, my family. That's the most important. That's the most interesting thing about me is my family. Because I'm pretty much a boring dude. But them, oh, that's something special. My daughter is 16 today. And she's super excited. She's got all these plans and things that we've got to pay for. That's what it comes down to. She wants to drive. She can't wait to drive. She can't wait to be grown and get a job. I mean, she, you know, through her eyes, I get a chance to just, I get a chance to enjoy life. Okay. And you get a chance to kind of relive it because when you get older, you get past, I say 35, you jaded. Now I take it. When you hit 40, you jaded. It's like, been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? You're searching for butterflies. You're searching for that sensation. But through your children, you can see their excitement, and it makes you excited all over again. You know what I'm saying? It's great. 16, y'all. What the hell? Now, some of the people in this audience, we've been rocking together for shit since before Little Buddha or Medium Buddha was even born. And being on local radio and kind of talking about your family, you kind of like we go through it together, right? I'm very much a talk creative who talks about his family, talks about what's going on. So through the entire process, the ups and downs, just being a black father to a little brown girl, I mean, you've been right there. It's funny because when we go out, and we haven't been out a lot as a family because of COVID, when we go out and we run into people, they just can't believe that it's the same person. She's nearly as tall as my wife. Yeah, she's full of opinions. I wish the best for my daughter on her 16th birthday and her 17th and her 18th birthday. I wish nothing but the best. This world can be so cruel because as a father, I am like 100% like eyes open, trying to just sniff out danger, but there's only so much you can do. At this point, she is who she is. Now, she's got a lot more development. They say that the human brain isn't developed until you get about 25, so she got a long way to go, but she's 16 today, y'all. It's a very, 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 very beautiful day. When I was 16, I shared this story with my daughter most recently, a couple of days ago, because as we were approaching her 16th birthday, and literally I can hear, because I'm at home right now, and to the left of me, which would be whatever direction it is for you, but to my left, I can hear my wife putting together decorations for her 16th birthday surprise. You know, you want to put stuff on your wall and you want to recognize all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really interesting. But anyway, I just wish she had a much better 16th birthday than I did. I remember my 16th birthday. It was no bueno. It wasn't so good. She's grown up a lot differently than I did. You know, let's just say she has more than I did growing up. So you can definitely see how it's impacted her life. But again, y'all, raise a glass of Java this morning or coffee or whatever you drinking and say happy birthday to Medium Buddha. She told me many years ago, don't call me little no more. I'm like, what the hell, you little to me? I'm Medium Buddha. Okay. And everything to go with it. Everything to go with it. Every bit. Like people used to tell me, like, you got a teenager? Or you got a daughter? Wait till she become a teenager. Oh my God. All of it. All of it. But good morning to you. Hope your world is equally as good. Tanika writes, happy birthday, Medium Buddha. I remember when you were saying it was her second birthday, Nate. Wow. Yeah, every year I check in, the memoirs of a black father, right? Just checking in with you, just talking about the experience, the ups and downs, just the funny parts, right? The not so funny parts, all of it. All of it. I only know one way to do it. And like I said, I've been on the air for a long time though. So a lot of folks we've sort of grown up together over the years. So yeah, she's 16 today, y'all. 2 years away from being 18. Yep. Got you another one. And hopefully she'll have a great birthday today. I think she will. I think she'll have a good birthday today. And her birthdays in the near future, hopefully will be equally as good as well. So, yeah, man, it's serious, man. She's going into the 11th grade. Yeah. And I'm super happy for her. Now, I've got a son who's 6. And so, if we just had one child, I'd just be on another level. I'd be on some T-Pain shit right now. But I have to put that off for another decade. But hopefully, we'll get there. It'll be a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? I might be slurring my words, but everything happens for a reason. And it's just great. Not to reveal too much, but my son is in summer camp and my daughter is doing some volunteer work near his summer camp. I put it that way. So when I pick them up, I get this great image of her holding his hand and guiding her little brother. I mean, it's just a great thing. It really is. It's a very interesting feeling. It's a very interesting feeling, but I'm here for it. Here. So again, raise a cup of Java this morning or whatever you whatever you drinking. For me, herbal tea, organic. And just say happy birthday to Medium Buddha. I think she's gonna be, our style with birthday gifts is to ask the kids what they want and then try to give it to them. We may make it real simple. What you want? Oh, okay. Or that we might see something. My wife is real good. She's much better than I am. I'm coming around to it, but she's much more the birthday person and making sure everything is on time and they have gifts and shit like that. Like they actually got gifts on their birthday. Leave it to me. There might have been a delay or two, a day or two or so. But teamwork makes the dream work. So I can hear the sounds of a birthday party or a birthday celebration in the next room, and it's comforting. I like it. It's a good feeling. So again, happy birthday, baby. She's tired right now. She said she didn't sleep too much because, well, I ain't gonna tell too much of her business, but let's just say she's having some stomach cramps. We'll put it that way. And she woke up early this morning, came downstairs. I was all teeth, baby girl. She's like, I ain't sleep last night. Okay, so hopefully she'll have a great day nonetheless. We got some plans for her over the weekend with her and her friends, and hopefully she'll have a good time with that. And that's all you can hope for, all right? Good morning, everybody. All right, let me get back to the title of today's show. Now, you know me, I come prepared to talk about numerous things because that's just my interest. It's rare when we spend an entire show talking about just one topic. I mean, it's got to be something that's really, really relevant or is super hot. Typically, I come with mini givings, mini gifts of conversation this morning, and this morning be no difference. But to kick things off, I want to talk about news. This is breaking news within the last 24 hours. The Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that teachers and staff at Ohio schools cannot carry guns at work without police training or 20 years of experience in law enforcement. And the Ohio Supreme Court just ruled this yesterday. And I think this is worthy of some conversation. And just right off the top, my question for you is, does this ruling make it more or less safe, less or more safe in Ohio schools? Because see, the argument was, mass shootings is just a part of what we do. It's the new normal, right? And the idea is that if you arm teachers, at least some people believe this, if you have teachers and staff that have guns, then if there's a mass shooting, they could stop the bad guy before the bad guy does a lot of bad things, i.e. kill innocent people. Some people have said the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, right? And I like to know whether you think that logic makes sense or not. At 513-873-7134. Does that make sense to you? What do you think? What do you think? Again, this case will have ramifications throughout the states, throughout the United States. But it happened here in Ohio, so I want to talk about it. It's relevant in a lot of different ways because do you think that these schools are safe? Do you worry about mass shootings at your child's school? What do you think the best way to deal with this is, in your opinion? Again, I'd like to take your thoughts on that. You can hit me up at 513-873-7134. If there's any early adopters, any early callers that want to get in early this morning, cool, the door is open. On the other side of the conversation, see, on one hand, you have people that believe that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, right? On some levels, shit, that sounds like a Western. Sounds like your favorite action movie. Sounds like logic. Makes sense. On the other hand, you have people who believe that teachers should teach and police officers should be police officers, and that it's an unfair burden to ask teachers to now be bodyguards on top of everything else they have to do. And oh, by the way, because they don't have the proper training, then they might end up being part of the problem and not the solution if there's an emergent situation, again, i.e. an active shooter. I want to know how you feel about it. So just give it a couple of minutes, ponder it, think about it a little bit. I'm going to give you some more details about what just went down. Okay. We need to talk about this. And this all stems from the Madison local school district. They put a policy in place after a 2016 shooting at the junior senior high school that left 4 students injured. So the folks over at Madison School District, Madison Local School District here in Ohio, they actually had to deal with the shooting at their junior senior high school. As I said, it left about 4 people injured. So they put a policy in place saying that they could have up to 10 workers, teachers, and a combination of either teachers and staff that could carry a concealed handgun. So in Ohio, you can carry a concealed weapon as long as you get a license. To get a license, you got to go to the gun range with a certified instructor. You got to go through this training. I went through it. It was highly informative, but I'll be honest with you. If I had no prior gun training, there's no way in hell I'm ready for an emerging active shooter situation. You talk about low hanging fruit. I mean, it's like the lowest level of the lowest standard possible in order to carry a gun. Like I did it. Talk a lot about it with the folks over at Ride or Die. So I understand. To me, it was pretty easy. And while I learned a lot about the gun and the safety and what to do and what to look for and all these kind of things, in no way am I ready to get out here in the real world and start defending schools. And neither would any teacher out there. Now, my good buddy Joe, I may reach out to him, my good buddy Joe Eaton at the Ohio Buckeye Firearms Association. Many years ago, he came on the air and was like, man, we 100% in favor of this, Nate. Yeah, teachers should be armed. Why shouldn't they be? And, from time to time, at least once or twice a year, he'll come on the show and we'll debate these issues. I always win because I got the truth on my side and logic and superlative flows. I always win. I always leave him speeches. But anyway, he tries. He puts up a good defense. But it just doesn't make any sense. I want to get, again, your thoughts about it. You can either shoot me a call here, 513-873-7134. To the folks that's on my text messaging community, I'm checking it this morning. You can shoot me a text that way, or you can or hit it up in the chat. You tell me what you think. What do you think? Also, today is my daughter's 16th birthday. And her 16th birthday, I hope, is a lot better than mine. Let me tell you about my 16th birthday real quick because I want you to think about these issues and I'm going to circle back around. My 16th birthday was something like this. And I think there's a difference between boys and girls. And I think there's a difference in eras. I remember being so 16 years old. What is that? On your way to high school, 9th grade, something like that. I remember we were living out in Forest Park at the time. I was living on Ken Road. And just growing up poor in the suburbs. As I've said many times before, Section 8 was a wonderful program. It allowed us to experience as a family a lot of different things. The pitfall of that is you broke in the suburbs, and it was not really a good thing for me being the oldest. And I remember the school I was going to was very, very fashion conscious. Like you had to have certain shoes and this, that, and the other. Things are a lot different now, depending on where you are. But my 16th birthday, man, I was in my feelings. I'll be honest with you. I was in my feelings because there were certain things that I felt like I was supposed to have that I didn't have. And I was looking at my parents like, where is it at? You know what I'm saying? And when it didn't come through my 16th birthday, I went to go get it myself. I went to go get it myself. And what I mean is I teamed up with one of my homies across the street. I put his name out there because there's no way that he could ever get traced back to it, but his name was Jeff. And we went down to the middle school and started robbing, going through lockers and all kind of stuff. Now, of course, we thought we was fresh with it. Got us a little, I can't even remember what we got. I think we got a chain and maybe $18, something like that. At the time, I'm thinking, yeah, this is mine because I felt entitled. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait a minute. It's my 16th birthday. That's supposed to be a big birthday. Now I don't expect a car. I know we can't afford it, but I can't get nothing else. It just my mother. I'm sure she wanted to. She just didn't have it like that. And so that's what I did. Got caught. Got caught. And it just wasn't a good situation. I had to do all this juvenile court shit and all this kind of stuff. It just wasn't fresh. It broke me right then. Like, you know what? A life of crime is not for me. I don't think I really want to do this anymore. It wasn't a good look, but when I think back to that, man, I just wonder. I wonder. And here's my question for you this morning. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if you could go back as an adult and whisper into the ear of your 16-year-old self? Wouldn't that be nice? So, since today is my daughter's 16-year-old's birthday, we got a lot of grown folks in here. I want to ask you this question. I would like to know what advice would you give your 16-year-old self? That's what I'd like to know. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self? If you could go back in time and just whisper into your 16-year-old self's ear and whisper some knowledge that you've amassed since then, right? Because what a lot of folks in here, your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. Okay, great. What would you say? So much, man, on my end. So much. But what would you say? Drop a comment. I might share this with Medium Buddha. What would you say to your 16-year-old self? What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? What lessons have you learned since you were 16, right? What is that, 30 years ago for some of y'all? 40 years ago? That's 40 years of life experience. What would you, if you could go back? And I think you feel the same way I do. Like if I had the experience and knowledge I have now and could put that in my 16-year-old body, oh my God. Well, have mercy. Have mercy the things I would do. You know what I'm saying? But you don't know. That's what they say, that youth is wasted on the young. Is that what they say? That's why. You know what I'm saying? Because they just don't know. But again, let's share some wisdom this morning. Let's share a little wisdom this morning. What would you say to your 16-year-old self? I'd love to hear it. I love to hear it because, well, again, when I was 16, my head was in a whole different type of place. My head was in a whole different type of place. My 16-year-old birthday was not a good day. It was not a good day. I was in my feelings like, nothing? You ain't got nothing for me? Oh my God. Somebody gonna have to give it to me. That's why I can identify and understand what's happening from time to time. We see in the headlines, man, like, and then boys are much different than girls. Like boys are brought to this world thinking that this is their world. I'm the king. Everything supposed to roll around me. At least I did think that when I was a kid. I think that's the mentality of a lot of boys. Girls are different. Girls are different. But again, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? I'm asking because my daughter is 16 today, and perhaps I can share some of your wisdom with her. She does listen to the show. Good morning to you. So that's my question for you on that side. So, you know me, I always come with a lot of different things. That's just the way my mind works. Okay, so I definitely want to get your thoughts on that. What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? What would you tell your 16-year-old self? What life wisdom and experiences would you share with your 16-year-old self? I'd like to know. I'd like to know. You can get as deep as you like to. I'm here for it. And I'm going to try to read every comment because this could be good. This could be good. This could be dope. And I'll be answering the question myself. If I could go back and be 16 again, it's a little bit late, but if I could go back and be 16 again, I would have taken I'd have taken basketball a lot more seriously. For me, it was recreational. But I felt like I got really good. And I felt like the only difference between that, so I had good size. You know, I could be in the NBA 6'4" as a point guard. I had good size, had good athletics, smart with the game. I could see the game really, really well. And I got heart. So I had all of the things that you needed, I thought. But I didn't really take it that seriously. And I didn't have anybody who was really pushing me like, go to B-ball route, go to B-ball route. Who knows? You never know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say league, but definitely high school. I definitely could have played high school. I would have taken it a lot more seriously. That's one thing I would have told myself. That's one thing I would have told myself. Or I would tell my 16-year-old self, like, take athletics a lot more seriously. Because I was blessed with the physicality, the physical frame for it. I just didn't really take it really seriously. It was always more fun to me, a way of staying in shape. Yeah, I like the competition of it, clearly, because that just pushed me to be in better shape. But that's one thing I would definitely do. But again, what would you? I'll be sharing little, nuggets from my own experience throughout the rest of the show. But I want you to think about it. Like, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? All right, think about that. Tiffany's in the house. She writes, "Good morning, all. Good to see you." Carolyn writes, "Good morning." The betting public sports show writes, hashtag alt middle in the building. Oh, dear Lord. Tanika writes, "Good morning, Nate and the Choppers."
No! Get to the chopper!
Get to the Choppers, man. Tracy writes, "Does John from New Jersey live in Miami? He needs to check in." I don't know if he lives in Miami. I'm not sure. John, if you're out there, he claims he listens. We haven't talked to him in a while. I missed a couple of his phone calls, so he might be mad at me. Jenny writes, "Good morning, Nathan and the Choppers." Good morning to you, Jenny.
No!
Carolyn writes, "Happy birthday, Buddha." Yes, that's my Buddha right there. How did she get that nickname? She got that nickname because her aunt, my little sister, in the hospital when we because sometimes you get the baby and then people want to hold the baby, right? Remember that? And you be looking at them like, "Don't you fucking drop my baby." Excuse my language. "Don't you effing drop my baby now." You got a newborn baby and somebody say, "Can I hurt her?" You be like, "Whoo, don't make me have to kill nobody. Don't drop my baby." And but you got trust in your heart, so you hand your baby over to the aunties and the nephews and the nieces and the uncles and all that stuff. So we gave her to my daughter. I'm sorry, to my sister, my little sister, her auntie. And she said, "Oh, look at little Buddha." And that's how I stuck. And ever since then, she was little Buddha. She got a couple names. Her other nickname inside the house is Munch Munch. We call her Munch Munch. Sometimes my wife really, really calls her Munch every once in a while. Munch Munch because, she used to throw down with the food. We got a picture of her with her first birthday, and we got her a cupcake, and it's just cupcake everywhere. She got her fist like this because kids at that age don't know really have all their dexterity, and it's like cake everywhere. She just eating the cake off her hand, Munch Munch. And then it was something that was in a book that my wife used to really read to her. It was like an animal book, but then you had to read the sounds that the animals would make. And one of them was a horse, and it would read Munch Munch. And she used to, every time my wife would say that, she would light up. So just to give you some insights into our world a little bit. But that's how she got the name Little Buddha. And I just ran with it. I'm like, look at my little Buddha. And I don't know what it meant to me. But it just stuck. Jenny writes, "Happy birthday, Medium Buddha." Dale writes, "Good morning, Nate and the Choppers." Good morning to you, sir. Medium Buddha is, what's that, Cancer? "She's definitely destined for greatness and explains y'all capability or compatibility." Let me see. Brandy writes, "Good morning, happy birthday, and happy Thursday." It is a happy Thursday. Caramel writes, "Good morning, everyone." Nat writes, "Good morning on a Thursday, Choppers." Good morning to you. Caramel writes, "Happy birthday to your baby girl." Eloise writes, "Good morning. Happy 16th birthday." Again, think about it for a second and share some of your wisdom. Seriously. This is not everybody has an opinion on every topic. I get that. That's just the nature of the game. Sometimes I'm going to bring up things, or whoever will bring up things. The host will bring up things. You're like, "I don't have an opinion about that. I'll just listen. I don't really care." But every one of you were 16 at one point. And every one of you has lived a life since then. And you've amassed experiences. You've had ups and downs. You've had success. You've had what some people might call failure. And that means you've got something to share. So what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? I'm just curious. Just kind of picking your brain. I want to pick the locks to your brains and come through blasting just a little bit. See, Charles writes, "That will eliminate a lot of cheat teachers." Caramel writes, "Less safe because teachers gonna shoot kids." You said less safe. Okay, let me make sure I understand this. You're saying less safe. So we've got two conversations going on at the same time, per usual. It's the Nathan Ivy Show. That is my style. That's how I get down. One is, what would you say to your 16-year-old self? What advice? Because my daughter's 16 today. Kind of makes sense. But then secondly, just yesterday, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled that if you're a teacher and you want to carry a weapon inside the school, then you have to have police level training. And I know I haven't told you what that means, but I will in just a second. What does that mean to have police level training? And again, I'll be honest with you. I don't have a problem with it. Ironically enough, I'm on the fence about this. I'm on the fence about whether I think that this ruling is going to make the schools more or less safe, and I'll tell you why. Because my biggest issue with I have many issues, but one of the issues that I have is the best way of putting it, because there's no bigger or whatever. They're all issues. One of the issues that I have about the idea of teachers concealing weapons inside the schools for the purposes of, if there's an active shooter situation, then they can act as bodyguards or security guards. My biggest issue is that I didn't feel as if teachers would have the same level of training as police officers. If you want to be a police officer, if you want to be a law enforcement official, you got to go through certain training. And I think that as the general public, generally speaking, their training gives us confidence that in emergent situations, they'll be prepared to deal with things and not be a part of the problem. See, I can just envision like some teacher, some math teacher who went and got a concealed and carry permit, like 3 hours. And now they think they top flight security of the world. Hold up, buddy. I think that's a potential problem right there. But if you have teachers who have been trained to the level of law enforcement officials, well, we don't have to worry about that. Presumably, they would be just as proficient as a member of law enforcement would be in responding to an active shooter situation, right? Okay, great. So just imagine this. So imagine now that all of the teachers in Ohio who have a concealed weapon have that similar level of training. They've gone through, and again, it's quite substantial, 700 hours of gun training, range training. Well, wouldn't that make the school more safe? Because now you've got more trained individuals inside the school willing to respond to an active shooter situation, right? Doesn't that make the school more safe? Because what the Supreme Court has done is they didn't say you can't carry. What they said is that if you do, you've got to reach a high threshold. And what's wrong with having people reach a higher threshold, right? I got no problem with that. So wouldn't that make the schools more safe? A year from now, 2 years from now, if we read that there's hundreds of teachers in Ohio that have reached this threshold of training, and now that qualifies them to have a weapon in the school, isn't that safer? It's like having extra police there. It ain't the same as having, your science teacher go through 10 hours of gun training. You got to do way more than that. So I want to get your thoughts. Think about it again. Does this make the schools more or less safe? Does this mean that the schools are going to be less safe because it's going to take teachers longer to reach 700 hours worth of training? And in that time, there's sort of like a bubble there in which you could have a lot of active shooters before the teachers can reach that threshold, so it makes it less safe. I don't know. I could break this down a lot of different ways, but I want to get your thoughts about it. Your thoughts are way more important than mine. Way more important than mine. Pat writes, good morning. Charles writes, happy birthday, Medium Buddha. Chuck writes, sup. Danita writes, good morning, everyone. Caramel writes, that logic doesn't make sense and hasn't been shown to work. Okay. Jared's in the house. He writes, good morning, Team NI. Wakanda forever, brother. Appreciate you. Mika writes, happy birthday. Nate, did you see the video of NRA leaders attending graduation in Arizona? Excellent setup. No, I did not. I did not. Danita writes, if teachers don't want to get responsible to break up fights, what makes you think they want to carry guns? I think carrying a gun is different than breaking up a fight. Like, I could see a teacher wanting to carry a gun for that teacher's own personal protection, right? First, and then, you want to protect your class and all that kind of stuff. Breaking up a fight is a little something different. To me, anyway. Caramel writes, Parkland School had a good guy with a gun and he ran away when the shooter started shooting. Yes, he did. So we have to, with this whole teachers being armed conversation, we have to assume they're not going to mitch out like that Parkland teacher did. I think he was close to retirement. He was like, screw this. I ain't dying for these kids. It's easy money to be the school resource officer, and I love the cheese pizzas and chicken patties and the spaghetti and meatballs, but I ain't dying for these kids. I'm out of here, right? I saw that. It was hilarious. Yeah, you never know the heart of somebody until they're put to the test. You never know. Jerome writes, happy birthday, Medium Buddha. Glenn writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Flo's ready to eat for everybody. Happy birthday, Medium Buddha. Charles writes, facts at Danita. Kush writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Danita writes, give Forte on the line. He has a unique perspective. He has been an officer and then both an SRO in security and CPS. His kids graduated from CPS schools as well, so he has been on the parent side. Yeah, he would. Brother Forte, I may send him a text message this morning, but Brother Forte, if he can hear that, he already knows. It's an open door policy. I'd love to hear his perspective as well. Denny, I agree with that. Good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Checking in from Dallas, Texas. Glenn writes, Nathan confessing, I used to be a stick-up kid. Nah, I wouldn't say stick-up kid. I mean, I was like everybody, any other kid. You know what I'm saying? Feeling like, the world owes you something and it's never come through. You know what I'm saying? Just wanting to fit in. I'm like, shit, if the world ain't going to give it to me, I'm going to get it myself. Period. You know what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. Oh, thanks, Tony. Appreciate you, man. He said great show yesterday. Appreciate that. Nat writes, give me the loot. Give me the loot. Yep. Yeah. Like literally, I remember thinking, oh, you ain't got nothing for me? I'm going to go get something for myself. And when did it? Caramel writes, don't let fear hinder you from taking risks. Charles writes, who hasn't taken something that didn't belong to them at some point in their youth? Unfortunately. Dale writes, get involved in youth activities and stress the importance of education with emphasis on Black history. That's what you would do if you were 16 again? That's what you would say to your 16-year-old self? Glenn writes, 16-year-old Glenn, stay away from Orange Cisco and Strawberry MD. Is that right? Strawberry MD. Danita writes, I would tell 16-year-old Danita, that fool you skipping school with is going to be a fool years from now. Anyone who truly cares about you will care about that you are your best self. Now, I know that's right. Anybody that care about you want you to be your best self. You're right about that. That's a good way to distinguish between who are your real friends and your fake friends. Some people will set you up just to see you fall. True. Here. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, comrade.
Good morning. You all right, bro?
Hey. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay, there it is.
Does that sound bad?
Yeah, at first your verse sounded a little shaky. But no, I think it was just maybe the line or something.
Nah, maybe I'm a little shaky this morning. You never know.
Maybe so.
But yeah, you never know. Hey, I just emailed you the actual slip opinion, okay? Because I know the media sometimes doesn't do the whole situation justice if you just read the headline, okay? But the reason I sent that to you is about 50 pages. You ain't got to read it right now. You might want to just skim it and go on some highlights. Mm-hmm. But there were some interesting breakdowns on the votes. Because, in Ohio, we get to actually know the politics of the judges, the Supreme Court justices, rather.
Right.
So,
I do know it was a 4-3 decision, and the conservatives were, heavily in favor of allowing the school district
be careful with
to
that.
arm teachers.
Be careful, comrade. That's not the case.
Oh, okay.
That's not the case at all.
Well, disabuse
I'm
me
not
of
going to
my
say
folly,
totally
my
was the case.
friend. What's up?
Well, hey, well, all right. You know, we got two justices that are actually from Cincinnati on that court, Pat
Uh-huh.
Fisher and Pat Fisher and Pat DeWine.
Right.
Guess what? They actually dissented. And you got to read it real close because, of course, it's a nuance. Now, the overall, from what I gathered, the overall conversation about, and I wasn't going to spend all night reading it, but I was spending all night doing other stuff. But suffice to say that Pat Fisher and Mike DeWine dissented from the opinion. Now, I don't know if it was about the hours for them or if it was about the overall training, but thus far I haven't read anybody's opinion saying that this wasn't allowable. So I'm saying there were Democrats in there who actually didn't go against guns being in schools, period. Their whole sticking point was the amount of training. They wanted to have the same amount of training that police officers had.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the conservatives were cool with the amount of training that was already signed up for. Bottom line is this. There was no real conversation about whether or not people wanted guns in the schools. I think everybody, all the justices generally agree with that. It just came down to the training. I hear you kind of saying like the whole thing shouldn't even be in there. Like there should be no guns in that period. Is that fair?
I am I'm leaning to that side. I'm leaning that way, yes.
Well, from what I'm reading, just thus far on the slip opinion, I don't think any of them agree with you, bro. Democrats or Republicans. But it's okay to be a lone wolf. You know, we have lone wolves who call your show on a considerable basis. But I just, you know, the way it works, you know, we do have something called the Second Amendment. People are allowed to carry guns. Now, there's limits to the Second Amendment, and we just saw one. The amount of training that a teacher might need to have versus not having any training at all. They met in the middle. Actually, they didn't meet in the middle. Well, they kind of did. If you think about it, they allow the guns, but you got to be trained at the police to have the gun. What's wrong with that, in your opinion? I mean, if you had a police officer in the school with a gun, you would be okay with that. So if you got a teacher that has the same amount of training as the law enforcement with a gun in the school, what's the difference at this point? Just the fact that they're teachers and not police, but they got the same training as the police. I see nothing wrong with the opinion. I think they got it totally right. Mass murder happens every day, bro, on the streets, in the schools. And if you got teachers who are trained with the same amount of training as the police, that makes everybody safer. This is going to be the model across the country, believe it or not. Or how they might go to, I don't think they're going to the United States Supreme Court because it might get worse. I think people are going to be okay with the fact that they get law enforcement training. We better leave this alone before it gets worse, before Amy Coney Barrett gets a hold of this.
Okay. So do you think this ruling will make the schools less or more safe?
100% more safe, bro. 100% more safe. Because you ain't got mass shootings going on for what we've read. Because I don't think you have been involved in any mass shootings in schools when we were in school. But from what we read, these things happen in a matter of seconds, especially when you got AR-15s involved and AK-47s, weapons of mass destruction. And if you got teachers that are ready to fight or die with the guns, like yo guys that do the gun training, hey, it's not gonna totally eliminate murder, but it's gonna make the body count a lot less. You can't disagree with that. If teachers are ready to shoot the mass murderer while they calling the police on the way, and we got trained teachers who are trained just like the police, man, that makes it's in Butler County too. So believe it, it's gonna make its way south and it's gonna make its way north. That ain't that far away. Madison County ain't that far. Okay. I think it makes it 100% more safe. It's going to reduce the body count. It ain't going to be the end all be all. But you're going to see with school districts modeling their rules after this in the state of Ohio. If this ever happens in Ohio, the body counts won't be like it, and it won't be like no Sandy Hook going on. I can almost guarantee you that. Okay. If there's trained teachers in there, so I think the Supreme Court got it right, and it was 4-3. So, hey, there are Democrats on the Supreme Court. I think there's 3 of them, and there's 4 Republicans. So, hey, there were some Democrats who went along with that, who thought that was okay. They just wanted more training, and I think hey, who's going to argue against more training? If this is going to be the case, don't you want the teachers to have more training than less?
All right. And another question, what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
What advice would I give my 16-year-old self? You mean
Yeah,
just generally speaking?
yeah, because today's my 16-year-old, my daughter's 16-year-old's birthday. She's 16 today. So
Oh wow. Okay.
so it's
All
got
right.
me
Well,
thinking like,
happy
damn,
birthday to her,
yeah, yeah, most def. Appreciate it.
man.
So what would you say
Especially
to
at
your
the
16-year-old self?
yeah. Well, of course I'm a male, so it'd be a little different than maybe a young lady. I have a 13-year-old daughter who's going to be 14. I would simply say this. I would simply say, uh, protect your box. Okay. If you're going to do anything risque, because she's 16, you never know what's going to happen. She has a little more freedom now, a little more savvy.
No,
Protect
you
your
no, no,
box
you're saying it to
because you got to,
yourself, not to your daughter, to yourself.
well, to myself, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I have a teenage daughter too, so I kind of got in the moment. Uh, to myself, 16 years old, let me think back. That's back in 97. Um, I would tell myself at that moment in time in my life, I would tell myself to keep doing what I was doing because I was a very studious young man. So if I had to look back and do 16 all over again, man, I can't tell you I'd do anything different, bro. I was living the best life at 16. I got my license like 6 months after I was 16. I was at the best school in the state of Ohio, public wise. I had a job. I was playing varsity football. Man, I was living. Hey, little Black Russia, keep killing it, man.
Okay.
That's what I would tell myself, man. I might have changed. I might have given a different perspective on what college I might have chosen, but coming out, I went to an HBCU at Kentucky State. That was a good decision. Um, you know, I maybe one regret is I didn't give Ohio State enough consideration because I was too scared of how big it was. That's probably like it, man. There was one thing that happened when I was 16. My grandfather passed away. I would have told myself, spend more time with your granddad. Now, that was something that Terrence did more than I did because they had the war thing to come. My granddad did Korea and Vietnam War. So I would have, and he passed in 97. I would have told myself to spend more time with your granddad. You know, he had a lot of wisdom, and I did spend some time with him. I think Terrence probably gleaned more wisdom from him than I did because he was just more like him. Yeah, I would have told myself to listen to the elders a little more. My elders being my grandfather, Robert Grafton Sr. That'd be the advice I'd have gave myself. Just your granddad was a jewel. He was one of those underground kings that never got crowned. Man, maybe talk to him a little more about what he experienced as a kid. I know a little bit. He grew up in Kentucky. You know, I wish I'd have known more. I wish I'd have asked him more about that side of the family when he was young. That's what I tell myself. Look, you spend more time with your granddad and learn a little more than you did. I think that's fair.
All right. Hey, brother, I appreciate the experience and the flows, man. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. And happy birthday to your daughter, man. You only got 2 more years left, man, and she's grown as hell.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. It's mind blowing. Thanks for the call, bro. Take it easy.
Yeah.
That's
Take it easy.
Black Russia right there. Again, think about it. I'm gonna take a quick little break, maybe 2 minutes. I'm gonna go holler at Medium Buddha. I might even bring her back to the stream to say hello to you on her 16-year-old birthday. I might even pick up a picture of when she was young and compare it to it now. It is amazing. But just a couple of minutes, folks. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Please like and share. Sharing is caring. If you like this kind of content you think is interesting or informative or both, please like and in particular share it this morning. We will be right back. It's the Nathan Ivey Show.
Love interrupted by tragedy, lost in the drought of nightfall, running in search of the remedy, trying to find her place in it all, focused only on the negative. All she can attract is pain. Perception is what will manifest. Thought she could escape, but it's all the same. Birds fly south for the winter, but she ran to the west side. And though much was stolen, much still abides. And I know she'd rather keep her distance, but as time moves on, she's drifting away from me. But did the ocean breeze specify you? Did the palm trees sanctify you? I bet the ocean breeze did advise you that you'll never find you on the run from yourself. On the run from yourself. Concrete will shape to quicksand. Just when you think you're in control.
All right, good morning, everybody. Just coming straight back. So Nathan Ivy with you. Yeah, so Medium Buddha's going to come down and say hello, everybody, for her birthday. You're going to see how what the hell happened? This girl just shot up. I mean, yes, that's what these kids do these days. They grow up for real, like it's a real thing. All right, back to your chat. We got two questions on the table right now. One is, what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? I asked because, again, my daughter's 16 today. I thought it might be an interesting conversation. And then secondly, do you think that the recent Ohio Supreme Court decision that in order for teachers to carry a firearm in the school building, they have to have police level training or 20 years of law enforcement experience? Do you think that decision is going to make our schools more or less safe? Less or more safe, however you want to put it. So those are the two questions we're dealing with right now. We'll have more next hour. Alicia writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Anime's in the house. Good to see you. Glenn writes, young Glenn, save your money instead of getting a room at the Armada or Drake Hotel. That's one thing I would tell myself if I go back. And I think everybody feels that way. I would be more money conscious. That's one thing I would say to myself as 16 years old, just be more money conscious. What about you? Brandy writes, good morning. Charles writes, it probably wouldn't matter what we say to our 16-year-old selves, because if we have fallen on deaf ears, then it probably still would, even if it was coming from ourselves, unless it was something. And you might be right about that. That would have helped me in real time. Kelmel writes, travel, see the world. Deshauna writes, good morning, Nathan, and all. Good to see you. Good to see you. Kush writes, happy birthday, Medium Buddha. Brandy writes, one life advice I could give is don't grow up too fast and listen to your parents, because they have you in their best interest and will never tell you nothing wrong. It's just something about being a teenager and being young where you feel like you got it all figured out and these folks don't know what they're talking about, and you just go, they don't know. Oh, that was that old time stuff. I remember my grandparents trying to tell me stuff that now I remember. And back then, and it just makes, it's like, why didn't I listen to that? Because it made so much sense. But back then I'm like, and they all old. They don't know about the new stuff. Talking about you don't like Jodeci. If you don't like Jodeci, how you gonna give me some advice? What's wrong with you? Looking back, I'm like, what was wrong with me? My 21-year-old daughter, I call her Boo Bear. I know I'm a softie for my daughter. I think most fathers are softies for their daughters. Regina writes, good morning, all. Happy birthday. And we only had to, as a father, you don't want to hit your kids unless you have to. I mean, I wouldn't spare the rod, but there was only one time in which I ever gave her a spanking or had to physically discipline her. And that's because she did something that was very, very dangerous and very, very wrong. She did some dumbish. Had to give her a spanking. And I remember I was all in my feelings. Every time I hit her, I felt like I felt the pain. You know what I'm saying? Most fathers don't want to do nothing like that with your little girl. You don't want to do that. That's the last thing in the world. But again, she's been a spectacular child for the most case. I mean, like I told you, she went from 0 to 6 like that because she was so well-behaved and self-pacifying. She was a very self-pacified child, right? We didn't have to do a lot of like pacifying her and, doing juggling tricks. And she wasn't needy as a child. She was very independent. Like literally, it was the craziest thing ever. If she had her little toys, she would sit there and be self-contained as long as we was in the same room. It was so funny because, my wife and I would be in the living room. She move her toys to the living room. We go to our bedroom. She move her toys into the bedroom. We go to the kitchen. She move her toys to the kitchen. Wouldn't say nothing. She would just get her kid, sit plop down and just be playing. She just wanted to be close to us. She's still like that. Very, very just self-motivated, which I think is a good thing. The school resource officer in Mason is a brother that grew up in Kennedy Heights. Cat, there go Cass. What's up, Cass? She writes, teachers need to be trained and police need to be retrained. Good point. Good point. Alicia, wow, great point. Alicia writes, teachers get things stolen all the time, keys, etc. What happens when a student takes the teacher's gun? Well, hopefully the teacher will have a gun lock on it. And hopefully the keys to the gun lock won't be on the keychain per se, hopefully. But I mean, that's all a fair question. I mean, these are all fair questions. Like, when you put more guns in a school, no matter how trained the individuals with the guns are, you increase the likelihood that there could be accidents with the guns. That's another reason why I've always been against teachers having guns, because what I want teachers to do is to focus 100% of the time on teaching. Like here in Cincinnati, we got a failing school district. We don't really have and can't afford teachers just spending any of their time thinking like bodyguards, thinking like police officers. We need you to be educators. And that's it. I'm a big believer that artists should produce art. Mathematicians should calculate math. Basketball players should play basketball. Educators should educate, right? I'm a big believer in that. And, but you tell me, has there ever been a scenario in which an armed teacher has stopped an active shooter situation? Because I can't remember it. Cincy Tigers writes, morning. Danita writes, teachers have PD all the time, all year. Now we're going to ask them to hundreds of hours of gun training. Well, Danita, yes and no. So no, we're not asking teachers to go out and get hundreds of hours of gun training. And yes, we are demanding, the Supreme Court is demanding that if you're a teacher and you want to have a gun, then you got to get that training. So if you feel like the training is you don't have time for it, then you ain't gonna be able to conceal and carry inside the school. Let's go back to the phones. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Nate the Choppers.
Hey, what's up, Brother Forte?
Hey, happy birthday to Medium Buddha right off the top.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been listening to you for a few minutes here, brother. Have not read the Ohio Supreme Court decision. But I will say this to you. Think about it. 20 years of law enforcement experience for a teacher to carry a gun in the school. So you've eliminated 99.9% of teachers already. So look at the twisted logic. Did I calculate that right? 20 years of experience.
Or 700 hours worth of training or something like that.
Okay. So when the police officers come right out of the academy, they don't usually become SROs. Obviously, they got to get some police experience. But you could have a cop 1 year on the job without a coach, going to a school doing a disaster. And they expect that officer to deal with it. I would say that I'm leaning to the side of not having teachers with guns in school. But if they have to have them, they do need to be extensively trained. And you understand, because you done took the more aggressive training. It's one thing to just shoot at a stagnant target. And another thing to be shooting when all hell is breaking loose, people running, tight halls, kids knocking you down. Listen, I played SR a long time, and I was blessed to never have to deal with anything close to that level. So I don't know, man. It's Joe and I, we say right off the beginning of the class, when seconds matter, the police are minutes away. So when all HELL is breaking loose and you down 911, you expect the police to arrive. The problem is, are they going to get there in, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? I know we got an anti-SRO sentiment going on with some of the kids in Cincinnati public. But if a kid has a personal vendetta against the police and he's willing to take the whole system down, people need to look beyond the surface. Because I'm aware that, we got these campaigns around the country, the school to jail pipeline. I'm conscious of it. But I will tell you, in all the years I was an SRO, it was rare that I did an original charge. An original charge means I charged the kid. 95% of charges are coming from other parents, teachers in the school who feel they've been, been criminalized for some reason or another. They've been victims of crime. We keep forgetting about the victims when we talk about locking kids up in school. If my kid just got the brakes beat off of him, got his computer taken, I'm going to say, okay, I'll live with a 10-day suspension. And my kid coming home with their mouth split or their eye black. I'm getting into a little bit of a different topic here, but every time I hear that, I don't think people give a consideration to the victims of these crimes that young people do to each other and even do to teachers. But on your primary topic, you just need to be well trained if you're going to carry guns in school. And then temperament. If I get a kid literally punch a teacher, and this teacher immediately goes for the gun, within seconds they got to make a decision, then they shoot somebody. That's not what they're there for. They're there for, like you say, mass shooters. One of your callers said, if you got to go up against AR-15s and AK-47s, that's a whole different zip code. Although the majority of shootings are done with handguns. But it stands out every time we hear about the so-called assault rifle. I don't know, man. Tough topic. The schools do need to be protected. And, situational awareness. I mean, we talk about the no snitch policy. If I got my buddy coming to school and I know he's got blood in his eyes, he got a gun in his book bag, am I going to tell on him? Am I going to try to talk him down? Or am I just going to think he's upset, he'll calm down? It's a lot to it, man. It's a lot to it. So, as long as they well trained, then,
Okay.
let them go ahead and carry the gun.
Okay.
It should be concealed. Nobody should know the person is has the gun. And we know the smaller the gun, the less accurate the gun is. We know that because we train with big guns and little guns. So a small gun, unless you got a very high skill level, you need to be very close to your target. And keep in mind, we'll use Walnut as an example. I've been in that building when they pass classes. It's a mass of humanity walking through them halls. If somebody was to get on the other side of those kids and start reaping havoc, you're not going to get a shot off anyway. It's a whole different kind of training to deal with that. So I don't know, man. If you got a question and lead me directly to what you want to hear, go ahead and hit me with it. Because I know I'm hitting like three topics at once.
Yeah, I mean, let me think here. I did have some questions, but I think you hit a lot of it. My only question would be like police officers. What do they have to do something on an annual basis to like recertify their training? Or is it just like a
Yes.
one-time thing? And would that be what
No.
the teachers have to do?
Right now in the police academy or in a modern police department, and of course I can speak for Cincinnati, you're going to go through the academy process. You're going to do a lot of extensive training with handguns during that academy process. When you get out the academy, it's going to be 2 mandatory times for all officers to train. 2. If you in Cincinnati, when I was in SRO, we trained more because they understood that we may be in the building by ourselves and have to deal with a disaster. So they stepped our level of training up. I got a whole additional week of training on top of, what I got out the academy, and you go back twice a year under the guise of instructors. They encourage you to go to the range as much as possible. So if you are a third shift or a second shift person, you can get to the range a lot more if you want to go there. If you first shift, depending on how busy you are, and you tell your boss, hey, I need an hour to go to the range, they're going to let you go to the range. So you can get as much training as you want if you can find the time to do it. Every year they would tell us, Get out to the range. Take your lunch break, come out to the range. Theoretically, police don't get a lunch break. But if you, like I said, depending on how busy you are, you say your boss, man, I'm going to the range for an hour. If he can let you go, you can go out there and you can get a couple hundred rounds. You know. So yeah, we train more than, the CCW, man. I love the CCW training. We going constitutional around the country. And my argument with constitutional is, get this picture in your head when the Constitution was written. Muskets. It took a trained person 20 seconds to load the gun. You got better, maybe you could do it in 10 seconds. So when you talk about arming the public, you can never see the type of weaponry that we're dealing with today. You talk about teaching little Buddha to drive. Guess what? Y'all didn't just say, here the keys. You've been riding in the car with mom and dad. Go drive. It's a standard kids have to meet, as well as adults. We need to learn to drive an automobile, the number one killer in America. Let's not get that twisted. Outside of heart attacks and health issues, the automobile is the number one killer in America. So that's why we don't just give people keys. So if you're going to carry a gun in the modern world, in my humble opinion, it should be a mandatory minimum 3-hour safety course. And you understand that, don't you, Nate?
Yes, I do.
I watch videos all the time. People shooting themselves, shooting their friends, shooting the TV because they got a deadly weapon in their hand and no training. Anybody 21 can go out and buy a handgun. Anybody 18, an 18-year-old can buy an AK-47, an AR-15, or a shotgun. So let's think about that logic. You can't have a handgun until you're 21, but you can go buy what they consider the more deadly weapon at 18. So, things are a little bit twisted, man. I get it. 18, they go to the service and they serve the country, but that's different. This person has been trained better at 18, 19, 20 years old. So I'm looking at the news every day, man. The shootings around America are off the chain. It's unbelievable. Little kids getting shot right here in our own city. So now we got judges who letting people out because the jails are crowded, and we let a 19-year-old fool out, and he immediately goes and gets into a gun battle with an adversary or two. I don't know what to say. All I know is I'm not losing a lot of sleep on it, but I worry about my whole family. I worry about it when they go to Kroger's, when they go get some gas. Or you're going to walk into the middle of a critical situation. And if you do, are you going to be able to handle it? So it's a broad topic, man. But the state of Ohio sort of pulled a gotcha on everybody. When they threw 20 years law enforcement experience of 700 hours of training, like I say, you've eliminated 99% of teachers right off the bat. So it's sort of like, okay, we're going to meet y'all halfway, but we're really going to control this. My buddy Richard Jones, he wants to train teachers in Butler County. That's his county. If those school districts let him do it, fine. A lot of this starts at the school district. If the school district make a decision that they want people like myself to carry concealed, then I'm going to blow the standards out the water. I'm going to have thousands of hours of training. But Cincinnati Public is never going to do that. I shouldn't say never, but it's going to take some real tragedies to motivate them to do that. So it is what it is. I've been carrying weapons my whole life, and the only time I don't carry a weapon is when I'm working for Cincinnati Public, because their rules are just that strict. So it is what it is, brother. But everybody out there, man, get yourself some training, get your family prepared. I don't want the Proud Boys or all them guys one day to catch you somewhere and all you got in your hand is your keys. Take some people with you. That's my motto. I can't be the Army, but they will be grieving too.
I feel you on that.
You understand? That's my motto right there.
Absolutely. All day long, man. I appreciate your call, brother.
Yeah. Hey, hang in there, everybody.
Yep. Take it easy.
Okay. Bye.
Hey, take it easy. Brother Forte checking in. Good to hear his voice. 513. He says he's leaning against it, but if they're going to do it, then they got to be trained. So let me add a couple more things to the conversation a little bit, okay? I want to diversify just a little bit. Two questions I've been asking so far this morning is, what would you say to your 16-year-old self? Daughter? Okay, come and say hello. This is medium Buddha.
She put a headband on for me. Hey.
Say hello.
Hi. She gave me a headband.
She, you mean your mother?
Y'all gave me a headband.
Yes. Okay.
Y'all gave me a headband.
Happy birthday, sweetheart.
And I got a pen too.
That's right. 16. Yes, we did.
I love it.
I love you too,
I
sweetheart.
love it. Thank you.
All right. See you later. See you. I'm so blessed. I already know it. I already know it, bro. I already know I am blessed. All right. So let me go back to the phones here. So 2 questions I have for you. What would you say to your 16-year-old self? And that's because today is my daughter's 16-year-old birthday. You just saw her. She's very happy, and she's doing something that's very hard to do. She's meeting my expectations. It's not an easy thing to do. And in some cases exceeding them. But then secondly, the Ohio Supreme Court just yesterday ruled that if you're a teacher in Ohio and you want to have a handgun, or you want to conceal and carry inside the school, then you've got to have police level training. They're talking about either 700 hours of training or 20 years of law enforcement experience. My question to you is simple. Does their ruling make our schools more or less safe? And it's very complicated. And I want to know if you have an opinion about either one of those things. Let's take a call. I think we got Drop on the line. And then I want to add at least 1 or 2 more things to the conversation, on the table for the conversation as well. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. How you doing, sir?
I'm excellent. Drop.
Thank you for taking my call,
Drop.
Mr. Ivy, and giving me an appropriate introduction, because you know how I like doing my little intro. Because a lot of people, Mr. Ivy, because you're blowing up, sir, and a lot of people are tuning into your show for the first, second time, and they don't know all the relevant players of the Nathan Ivy Show. Shout out to the Alt Middle and their affiliates. And, I don't call in as much as I used to because the Scary Orange Man is out of office, and your show, like many other shows that are hosted by black people, they don't talk about the current administration as much. Now, again, for what reason, I'm not sure. And you do stay on them a little bit, Mr. Ivy, but it seems like the only time you really talk about the national issue is if I bring it up. And then when I bring it up, of course, you're going to hear the gate open and the overseer going to bring out the horse and going to have to follow up anything that I say. But on your topic today, on your topic today, Mr. Ivy, it is very relevant and very timely. But I'm sure you know, and I'm sure you've informed your audience that there are school districts across this country that already have their teachers carrying weapons, but they are certified. Like just one state. And Texas is one of I think it is the biggest state in the country. There are 110 school districts in Texas that have armed teachers. Now, Ohio, they can do what they want, but when they added in that caveat that Brother Forte brought up, and you brought up about the level of experience that's required and the amount of current teachers that are eliminated from that requirement, that's basically saying they don't want teachers to carry guns. And, but again, it's going to come down to the parents, Mr. Ivy. And like you always say, if the parents don't speak up, these school boards will run roughshod over your children, and they will put other things ahead of educating your child. So all the parents out there that got children, just because the Ohio court came down with their ruling, that doesn't mean that this case will not be taken further to the Supreme Court, because the children got to be protected, Mr. Ivy. And our president yesterday, I don't know if you heard the speech, Mr. Ivy, but again, Democrats got to learn, Mr. Ivy, the answer to stopping gun violence is not going after the seller of the gun. You have to hold the person whose finger is on the trigger. And in these days, like Brother Forte said, these is young shooters, Mr. Ivy. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old shooting other 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. And it's bad, Mr. Ivy. It is really bad. So don't try to cut me off talking about, oh, well, what about white on white crime? That is a stupid argument, and I'm not calling you stupid, sir. But that is a stupid argument when black people talk about holding other black people accountable for killing young babies, Mr. Ivy. I mean, it's Mr. Ivy, you need to report these stories, sir. I know it's your show and you have an agenda, you have a format that you follow. But Mr. Ivy, 2-year-old babies getting shot in the city of Detroit on the freeway because these fools thought that somebody was in the car and it was the wrong car. 2-year-old boy lost his. Mr. Ivy, it's sad. It is sad. You got people in Chicago who live in housing projects and they're mad. They're like, come on, people. You bring out all this police protection when the baseball game is on and all the people at the baseball game are white. Oh, they get protection. But the residents in these adjoining communities, they don't get the protection. And there's surveillance cameras everywhere, Mr. Ivy. I have not heard, well, I'll take that back. Some of the local news stations are covering some of the cases. And most of these cases, nobody's getting arrested. There are no suspects. But that a lot of people and the citizens are finding that very hard to believe with all these cameras everywhere. But we if you really drill down, specifically in Chicago, they are not locking these people up, Mr. Ivy. They're letting them out. They have a no bond, no bail system in Chicago. They have it out here in California. They're letting people out who they're supposed to have in jail until they go to trial. And they're letting these killers and shooters back on the streets, Mr. Ivy. And these are criminals. Criminals don't give a damn about a background check. They're going to get these guns. So our president and other Democrats who think the answer to solving this gun violence across the country is to go after the gun dealers. Mr. Ivy, this is wrong. You got to start locking people up. You got to start putting these.
We tried
shooters,
that. It didn't work.
You got to keep.
Where you been? We tried that through
It
the
doesn't
90s.
matter.
It didn't work.
Mr.
It
Mr.
didn't work.
Ivy.
It didn't impact crime one bit. All it did was lock up a whole lot of people and break up families. It made the situation worse. Where you been?
No, Mr. Ivy, don't tell me where I've been. I'm 60, soon to be 61 years old. I've been in these streets, Mr. Ivy.
You should know this.
I do know it, and that's what Mr. Ivy, just because it didn't work don't mean you don't keep trying.
Oh,
Mr. Ivy,
you mean just because it don't work? It did work. It worked at locking up a whole lot of people. In a lot of cases, it didn't deserve to be locked up as long as they did. Remember this? Truth in sentencing, 3 strikes laws. All it did was incarcerate a whole lot of black and brown bodies. Meanwhile, the streets was just as violent as they was before.
Oh my God.
Period.
Mr. Ivy, you going back 30. Mr. Ivy, you going back 30-some years, sir.
No,
okay.
I'm not.
And like I told you,
and if I
yes,
am,
you
we
are.
need
Because,
to.
Okay, Mr. Ivy, how did the crime bill even get to the president's desk to be signed in the first place?
It ain't about the crime bill. It's about the idea that you brought up that what we need to be doing is locking everybody up. We tried that and it didn't work. Drop.
Okay, Mr. Ivy. Okay, Mr. Ivy. Again, America is a huge country, okay? It's big. And again, the president announced yesterday, New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and L.A., he's going to start another task force that Trump had started, where they're going to start adding federal dollars to round up these offenders that they're not locking up locally. They're going after them for federal offenses, Mr. Ivy. And again, sir, people, young kids are dying. I hear you talk, congratulations to your daughter on her 16th birthday, Mr. Ivy. But that little boy who got shot on the freeway in in Detroit last week, 2 years old, he ain't getting no 16-year-old. He ain't making it to 16, Mr. Ivy. And if they catch that guy who shot up that car, don't release him, no bond. Oh, we'll put an ankle bracelet. We'll see you. No, lock their asses up. You got to send a message, Mr. Ivy. Brother Forte, he said it, and I heard it in his voice, Mr. Ivy. It is getting out of control when you got
gotta
these
send
young
a message.
kids.
Are we
Shooting
trying
young
to save
kids,
lives
Mr. Ivy?
or send messages?
Yes.
What are we trying?
you
If
say-
we trying to
because-
save lives, then we should be getting to the root of the issue to save lives, not sending messages.
What's the root?
We tried that in the
What's the
20s,
root?
and I'm sorry, in the 90s and the 2000s, and all it
Right.
did was get a lot of people locked up for a long time. That's it.
Well, you have, Mr. Ivy, I don't care what you say, okay? Maybe the only reason you saying, oh, you can't lock them because they black. No, lock they black asses up if they going around shooting up little kids and killing people
And we
and
are.
destroying families.
And we
Lock
are. You
they
acting like these
asses
people
up
are not being
and
held
keep
responsible
locking
for
them up.
what they do. They are being held responsible. What are you talking about?
Mr. Ivy, they're not. Look
They
at
are.
the cases. No, they're not,
Yes,
Mr.
they
Ivy.
are.
There are people in Chicago that are responsible for murders, and they were out of jail when they should have been locked up. Mr. Ivy, the cases are there. You have the show. You
What
have the
case?
ability to go to
What
go to the
case?
local news. Go to Chicago, Mr. Ivy. Listen to what's happening in that city,
So basically,
Mr.
we should
Ivy.
do away with due process. That's what it sounds like you're saying. So if you alleged
No,
of a
I didn't say
crime,
that. See, there
forget
you go.
due
You're
process.
putting words in my mouth.
You should just
No, I
go to
didn't say
jail into your court date because that's what you think they should do. I don't know the circumstances of these particular cases,
no,
but if you're talking about
exactly.
people
You
that
don't know.
are given
don't
due
know.
process and they get out on bond,
Why you,
that's the way the system works.
Mr. Ivy? They are not even given a bond,
That means they
It's
probably
Mr.
don't
Ivy,
deserve a bond.
Mr. Ivy. Mr. Ivy, again.
So
sir,
you telling me
again.
hardcore criminals, people that's
Yes.
been alleged of murders, and there's sufficient
Yes.
evidence that they've committed these murders, are given no bonds? I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Okay. Hey, trust but verify.
Give me the
Trust
name of a
but
case. I'll
verify.
look it up right now. Then.
I ain't giving you nothing. We
Okay,
ain't
then I
going
tell
through
you
that.
what, because I know you on the spot. You don't have to give
Exactly.
it to me now.
Exactly.
When we
I
get
ain't
off
on the
the
spot.
air,
I
I'll
ain't
be
on
on
the
for
spot.
at least another
Mr. Ivy.
30, 40 minutes, do a little research,
Okay.
and then tag me, and then I'll look at it. But I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
believe that in
Okay. All right.
Chicago,
Okay.
people are committing murders.
I heard
There's
you.
sufficient
I
evidence
heard
they
you.
committed these murders, and then the judges are saying no bond, letting them walk out. Where they do that at? In this
Okay,
country,
okay,
you got
Mr.
black
Ivy, I
people
heard
that's
you.
going to jail for doing nothing, let alone when they allege you
stop.
commit a murder.
Stop.
I don't believe it.
First of all,
I don't believe it.
we are not a monolith,
Irrelevant.
especially when it comes to criminal activity.
Irrelevant.
Especially when it comes to criminal activity. You got gangsters and shooters out there in these streets. But Mr. Ivy, in the
And
past,
gangsters and
when you
shooters
told
go to
me,
jail.
oh, here we go.
They go to
See,
jail.
here we go. No. Okay, now, Mr. Ivy, in the past, when you've told me to give you evidence, I've given it to you, and you never posted it on your show.
That's
so
not
this
true.
time,
That's not true.
yes, it is true.
No, it's not
okay,
true.
wait, hold up, Mr. Ivy. Okay, so it's 5:57 West Coast time.
Okay.
I'm gonna find the article. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Put it on
I'm
Twitter.
gonna go to your Twitter account.
Put it on
I'm
Twitter.
gonna put it in your message. I'm not gonna put it on your timeline.
All right.
I'm gonna put it into your direct message.
Okay.
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 And it's gonna come with video too.
Okay.
Okay. And I hope you play it. And
I
I'm gonna
will.
wait. I'm gonna sit back in the cut. I'm gonna fire up some Natural Born Killer, and I'm gonna chill. And I'm gonna see
Okay.
if you're gonna do it.
All right.
Because if you follow Black Not Democrat on Twitter, Mr. Ivy, I post these stories. I post these local stories. I actually put video up. Just check the timeline, Mr. I have no reason to come on your show with a hidden agenda, to lie, to mislead people. That's not what Mr. Ivy, I don't, what's the reason for me to do that? The shit, it is happening in Chicago. It is happening in LA.
Then
These
it should
cities
be
who
easier
have
for
no
to find.
bail.
It should
who
be
have no
easy
bail.
peasy for you to find these articles and send it to me
Okay.
on Twitter.
All right.
Then.
Okay. All right.
Because I
Okay,
got
top
my
of the
Twitter
hour,
page
thank-
up right now. I'm waiting for it, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank
All right,
you.
cool.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for making the
Drop
call.
Squad 52, also known as the Black Not Democrat. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Happy birthday, young lady. 16. It is just the beginning. Peace.
Peace. Appreciate the call, brother. 1 second, family. What is Drop talking about? I don't believe it. In this country, you got black men and women going to jail for doing nothing, literally in some cases. And you telling me that there's cases out there in this country where people have committed murders. There's evidence, strong evidence that they did, because anybody can allege you of doing anything. There's strong evidence that's presented to a judge that, in fact, this man is a threat to society, and they get no bond. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You guys show me the money. Show me the money. Send that link, because I don't believe it. That sounds like some of that Fox News nonsense that they use to try to criticize the Democrats. You know, Chicago's been run by Democrats for 30 years. That's what it sounds like, because it just don't make sense. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nate. This is Donita. How are you?
I'm doing great, Donita. Good morning. Welcome.
I am here to dispel the alternative facts that we just heard from Drop Squad. So maybe in his mind he's not lying. It's just alternative facts. So let's clear them up. If you are arrested on a violent crime, you are not getting out of jail with no bond. That's not the way that it works. Yes, there have been people who have previously committed a violent crime, okay? They get out of jail, maybe they serve their term, whatever, and then they go back and reoffend. That happens. But you can't lump that together with no bail, because that's not what's happening. But that's what Fox News wants to do. That's what Drop Squad just tried to do. He's trying to lump it all together. But he's not going to find a case where a person was just arrested for a violent crime, went before a judge, and the judge said, okay, I'm not going to give you a bond. You get to go back out there and shoot another person. That didn't happen. And we all know that. What they like to do, again, is weave some truth. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the person was convicted of a violent crime before. And did the person get out? Yes. But not on a particular case did they go in front of a judge and get no bond. So he's mixing in some truth, you know what I mean, with these great big alternative facts. That's exactly what he's doing. That's exactly what Fox News does. Because, again, they want to make it seem like we don't need gun control. Nobody's trying to take away your guns. Nobody's trying to come into your house and say you can't protect yourself. What people are saying is that we need common sense gun control laws. That's it. And if you got common sense, I don't understand why you're against it. I really don't. Should a person who's arrested for a petty crime that's not violent, that really has no victims, should they get a $10,000 bond? For what? It doesn't make sense. And that's where the no bond is coming from. That's where no bail is coming from. Because as we know, it's stacked against black and brown people who don't have the money to get out. And most of the time, when a white person does a crime that could be more heinous, they let out. You know what I'm saying? But this person who does a petty crime with really no real victim, you know, you could have a woman arrested for prostitution. She don't get a high bond. You know what I mean? Knowing she ain't going to get out. Where's the victim in a prostitution case? There ain't one. That's what no bail and no bond is about. So please stop with the alternative facts. We understand that's what y'all like to try to do. Alt, middle, black, not Democrat. But we're not going to allow it today. We're going to dispel all the myths that they're trying to hit. That's all I got, Nate.
That's all I need. Thanks for the call. That's Donita.
All right.
Making perfect fucking sense. She broke it down perfectly. She broke it down very perfectly. Hold on 1 second here, because the fam is about to walk out and I got to say what's up to them as they leaving, all right? So let me just take a quick little musical interlude. It won't be too long, maybe about like a minute, maybe about 90 seconds. But I need to holler at Medium Buddha, my son and my wife before they roll out. So please forgive me. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Sorry about that. Had to holler at my people real quick. And I want to, he's right here. And I want to add a few more things to the conversation. So I'm not sure if you're on Netflix or not, but there's something dope on Netflix I want to bring to your attention. You might find this interesting. It's a brand new series called This Is Pop. Anybody seen this? It's called This Is Pop. And I've only seen like a little bit of the first episode. Full disclosure, I had it on this morning. I was up early this morning, but I had it on this morning as I was preparing for today's show. It was in another room. So I was kind of listening to it a little bit. And it's super dope. It's all about like, pop music and R&B music and the fusion of them. And the first episode starts with the evolution of, here it is right there, the evolution of Boyz II Men and how impactful Boyz II Men was in the creation of Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, and all those different shows. It was hella interesting though. And then they got into this whole thing about T-Pain and auto-tunes, which, has been, it's not new, quite honestly, but it was so interesting because T-Pain told this story about how he was on a plane. He was on a plane back in 2013 going to the Soul Train Music Awards or something like that. And he says that Usher and Drop, I'm still looking for that message, Drop. He just sent me a link I'll get to in a second. He just sent me a link. I'm going to check it out real quick. And so, okay, he looks like he came through with something. We'll check it out. But anyway, so T-Pain tells this story about how he was on a plane. All these folks was there, including Usher. Usher wanted to talk with him. He went to go talk with Usher, and Usher told him that he killed music, that he effed up music because he was using auto-tunes. And if you remember, there was a time when it's like every song on the radio was auto-tunes. Like T-Pain was huge. Now, here's what I'll say about T-Pain. T-Pain is a hell of an artist. That man can sing. He's got a unique voice and a unique style. If you doubt it, NPR does something called the Tiny Desk concerts, and essentially they like bring like big artists or artists in general into their studios, but like their offices, and it's like an office setting, like cubicles, the whole 9 yards. Very intimate, very interesting. A lot of big stars have done it. T-Pain did it with no auto-tunes, killed it. Dude got skills, but you can tell even with the auto-tunes that you got to have a great voice as a bass for the voice to sound good when they put the auto-tunes on there, right? So apparently T-Pain went into like a 4-year depression because Usher told him that he effed up music using auto-tunes. I'm like, auto-tunes. I'm like, what the hell? And I remember there was a time when people used to criticize like R&B because you had people like T-Pain and others like, that ain't no music. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Everybody hypocrites. What about Zap? That was auto-tunes. That's what made Zap so much fun, is he had the little auto-tunes, little thing he put in his mouth, and it would make his voice sound different, and it just sounds so different, and it would just catch the human ear. But that's what happens, man. Older people always hating on younger people, right? The older generation always hating on the young generation, like, y'all ain't do it like us. We did it better. And I thought it was so odd that T-Pain, like, I was watching the video. T-Pain was really in his feelings about it. And I was thinking to myself, if that was me, I'd have been like, well, damn, I got that kind of impact on music. I must be doing something right. I must be doing something right, but it was very, 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 very interesting. It's called This Is Pop. If you're into music or anything like that, you might find it very interesting. I'm gonna check it out. And the Boys to Men, I didn't know how prolific the motherfuckers was. I had forgotten some of them songs. They had like 3-4 songs that was like that took over the whole world. The whole world, Craig. They took over the whole world, man. I forgot how just dope Boys to Men was. Of course, they were backed by Michael Bivins, who was a part of BBD, and you already know it. New Edition. So I thought it was very interesting. So if any of that sounds like something you might get into, if you was into that kind of culture and music back then, you'll find, I think it'll be very dope. I've only seen like the first opening of it, so I can't give you a full rundown on it, but I'm gonna check it out. I might even watch it with the wifey, right? Because we're the same generation. We might both get a kick out of it. It's called This Is Pop. And Usher need to shut his damn mouth. He got other things to worry about rather than somebody using auto tunes. I mean, that's just how the game is. That's just how the game is. You know what I'm saying? T-Pain can sing, so can Usher. They both have the truth, and I play them for different occasions. Usher's in the house, T-Pain's in the club. T-Pain was killing it, man. He is hell. Again, go to NPR on YouTube and check out Tiny Desk Concert, and then type in T-Pain and listen to that man and tell him if he don't have talent. He has a beautiful voice. And then when you combine that with that urban cadence and context, and then put the auto tunes on top of it, it was super dope. That's why all these artists start using, because it sounds dope. It sounds real pleasing to the human ear, and that's the reason why Zapp was using it, because it sounded fucking good. Simple as that. Bo Riding writes, Boys to Men was the best male group in the 90s and 2000s. Well, I have forgotten just how prolific they were. But again, from what I gathered this morning, checking out the first episode, like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and then they started talking about cultural appropriation, how white artists will, whenever they looking for something cool, and just in general, in American culture, when you want to look for what's next and what's hot, they go to Black youth. Black youth. That's why I always defended hip hop, because it was an invention of my generation. And you had the civil rights generation folks that was always criticizing it, but they didn't know what they was looking at. Like, it's just so funny, and I love to throw it back in people's faces, because I used to work with people back at the radio station, and they used to argue with me on the air and behind closed doors about how hip hop was gonna die one day, and all them square ass motherfuckers used to say that. They always used to say that. Oh yeah, hip hop. You like that hip hop? Why you like hip hop? Now they all into hip hop. I mean, it sounds unbelievable, but I used to have colleagues who used to argue with me. I couldn't believe it. Oh, this hip hop's a fad. This is into the damn 2000s. I'm like, you might want to. It's been around for 20 years now. And now hip hop is so ingrained into the world's culture that it's everywhere now. You can't even tell the difference. It's indistinguishable. It's so tightly woven into the fabric of our existence that you can't even, sometimes you don't even recognize it. Straight hip hop culture. We built that. That's why I say I'm not Generation X. I'm hip hop generation. Don't let them do that. I'm Generation X. Dummy, you're not. You're the hip hop generation. Every generation is defined by the most culturally significant thing that happened during that time. There's nothing more culturally relevant than hip hop in the generation of 20 years in which I was born. You got some idiots out here still running around talking, I'm Generation X. No, fool, you're not. Just because they told you that don't mean you really are. You're hip hop generation. Simple as that. Have some fucking pride. Think for yourself. I did not think about it. I'm telling you, literally, I used to argue with these folks. Now these same folks is all into hip hop. Hip hop ain't gonna be around much longer, Nate. That hip hop fad. Fool, you go sit your ass down somewhere and get out of my face. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what you're talking about. Literally. These is grown people. These are grown black people used to argue with these people. The hip hop is gonna fall. It's gonna run out, man. Ain't nobody gonna be doing hip hop in 10 years. Sure they are. Sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. Fools don't know what they're talking about. But you got to hear it. You got to hear it. Yeah, Tanika Rice, you got to hear that. You go check it out. You tell me he don't have his voice is beautiful. He's got a very just buttery, smooth kind of voice, but he's into that urban syntax, some urban tales. And I don't think it's any less. His voice ain't, I mean, Luther is on another level, but his creativity and artistry is no less important than anybody else just because he's defined as hip hop and R&B. But I thought it was very interesting. Then they get into auto tunes and the evolution of music culture. I think it's very, very interesting. It's called This Is Pop. So I want to put that out there for you to check it out. 513-873-7134. Speaking of pop, I want to talk about Britney Spears for just a second. And I know this is going to shock the hell out of you because I don't talk about Britney Spears. For a long time, I used to use Britney Spears when I would make a point about the type of things I talk about. I used to say for years that this is some things I don't talk about because I don't care about them. I talk about Cincinnati because I care about Cincinnati. And I used to say, you don't hear me talking about Britney Spears, do you? Because I don't give a damn about Britney Spears, which is still true. But today, a little bit of a caveat to it. Because yesterday, something happened that kind of caught my attention. Britney Spears, the huge pop icon who will be 40 this December, has been under her father's conservatorship since 2008. What the hell is a conservatorship? Caught my attention within the last 24 hours. So essentially, Britney Spears has no control over her empire. She's worth about $60 million. Her father controls it and controls every facet of her life through something called a conservatorship. It was actually streamed live on YouTube yesterday by ABC News. And she's in court saying basically that she felt like a sex trafficker, like she was a sex worker being sex trafficked by her father. Apparently, this conservatorship is a legal construct that allows her father to control every aspect of her life, including forcing her to take birth control. And he had full control over her millions and millions of dollars. Remember that old baby, baby song? Everybody loves that. Hit me, baby, one more time. The world went crazy because it was a blonde white girl with some pigtails. And she was dancing with a miniskirt on. The world went crazy. She made big money. But apparently she wants to sue her family. She's in court right now arguing that the conservatorship should be lifted so she can lead her own life. And she's 40 years old. Could you imagine being 37 and you have no control over the vast wealth that you have created? This is wild to me. I had to bring it up. Just for the story, I don't have any real deepness with it, but I just thought it might be interesting. Like, that is deep. That is deep. So apparently her father is paid $16,000 a year to be in control of her empire, in control of her conservatorship. And that includes she has to pay his lawyer fees when she's suing him to get back control of her own life. That's wild. Let me get this straight. I go out here and build a fortune. And her father basically takes it and controls it. Man, I was reading through and watching some of it yesterday. She is claiming that she was forced to take IUDs, birth control. They control every aspect of where she goes, what she does. They control who can see her, who can come to her house, who can see her children. Now, a conservatorship are typically granted in extreme cases only, like a person is suffering from dementia or some other dire limitation. So apparently, you know, Britney has some stuff that the court felt like her father should step in, man, but damn. Apparently, she was pulling in millions from her recent gig in Las Vegas. Like, again, this woman is 39 years old, about to be 40 in December. She's been playing in Las Vegas for the last couple of years, bringing in big money, big money, big money. Her father was only giving her $2,000 a week. She might have been making $50,000 a year. Goes back into the conservatorship, the bank, whatever. He controls it and gives her what he wants her to have. And she's a grown-ass woman with kids. Get this. Her father was giving her $2,000 a week through the conservatorship when she was making tens of thousands of dollars a month performing in Las Vegas over the last couple of years. At the same time, he's getting paid $16,000 a month, which is double what he was paying her. What the hell? I just brought it up because I thought it was interesting, man. I mean, we living in the last days of common sense. This is crazy. This is wild. Could you imagine this? All that glitters is not gold, man. And I mean, shit, you start making some kind of money, like some parents become your worst enemy. Anime writes, I feel bad for Britney. The first of the Disney pop stars Illuminati sacrifices. I saw her rise and fall at the hands of her own people. Yeah. That is crazy. Anthony writes, didn't Gary Coleman go through somewhat of the same thing with his parents, Nate? I believe you're right. Nat writes, wasn't she doing drugs too? She might have been, but who wasn't in Hollywood? Seems like all of them are. Drop writes, good morning, Choppers. Will Nate be a man of his word and show the cases of people released with no bond bail? Trust but verify everything. Any questions? Hashtag you ain't black or you're black, not Democrat. Oh, where are you calling me out like that? So let me go straight to it. He did. He trying to be funny. He got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different articles in here. So let's go through them. This first one is from lawenforcementtoday.com. Headline, police, baby murderer just released with no bond thanks to bail reform. Okay, let's look on here. Law Enforcement Today. That's kind of suspect. I'm not sure what their agenda is going to be, but I'll go through. I'm a man of my word. I stand by what I said. We'll look at the cases and decide for ourselves. But as you heard, we got a call coming in. Your calls are my priority. Let's go straight to the phones and say good morning. Welcome to the show. I'm doing great. Hold on, Brother Fame. I got to make sure you connected, man. I didn't connect you all the way. Hold on 1 second. Let's try it again. Hey, good morning. Welcome.
I say good morning, Nathan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Brother Fame. Welcome.
That's wonderful to hear. It's always a pleasure to be in touch with my brother here, and I am enriched and ennobled that you find me to be a priority. I find this gun in schools debate to be regardless of the Supreme Court's decision, I just find it to be a damn non sequitur. There should not be no damn guns around kids. Teachers should not be. 80% of teachers nationwide are white women from the suburbs. You talk about what you would tell your 16-year-old self. I remember when I was 16, what the white teachers were saying to me. There would be no Fane Rothstein.
You still there, Fane?
And we got a damn sheriff. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you blinked out for a minute.
You know what? I'm on it's probably where I'm at. I'm on a business trip up in Northeast Ohio, so it's probably gonna go in and out. I'll just keep listening. I'll catch you another day. I'm sorry.
Oh, good, brother. All right, appreciate the call. That's Fame checking in. He says a non sequitur. He had disagreed with his brethren, though. I thought the alt middle they locked horns and did a Vulcan mind meld or something to make sure they all thought the same thing. You know what I'm saying? You disagreeing with Black Russia. You know you're gonna get yourself in trouble now. Don't do that. I'm seeing some dissension in the ranks there. Danita writes, an attempted murder suspect was let go after a Bronx court clerk mistakenly marked him for release without bail, court officials say Thursday. He wasn't released by a judge with no bail. All right, let me go back to this. So he's got a link here. This is January 7th, 2020. So you're not talking about anything anything that happened recently. Baby murderer just released with no bond thanks to bail reform. Let me see. Earlier on Tuesday morning, Anthony Ojeda, 38 years old, was released after making an appearance in court on the condition of supervision. Ojeda is a free man until his next court date, which he will definitely show up to. Okay, so I can tell already that this news source is biased. I can tell already. Let me go back to the phones again. Your phone calls are my priority, and we'll get back to this conversation about whether people are murderers are being let go by judges with no bond, and there's credible evidence that they are committed a crime and are a threat to society. I don't believe it, but Drop is trying to convince us. So let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Nate? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Welcome.
You know what, Nate? Don't fall for the head fake, the banana in the tailpipe. To see what you're going to happen in a country of about 360 million people, you might find those cases out there like Mr. Ojeda. But if you read into the story, Nate, which I have done because, the Kelly McEnany and the Sarah Huckabee Sanders of the Chop Shop, Lil Nas Drop X, once again was dropping bullshit. If you look at Ojeda's case, actually, Nate, he was released or he's accused of his son, 6-week-old overdosing on drugs. Because remember, his call was about violence in Chicago and shooters getting out and then killing somebody the next day. Wasn't that his argument, Nate?
That was his argument, right.
It wasn't about... Right. It wasn't about people who, unfortunately, their kids overdosed and they were released and got, home incarceration or, whatever the hell that is, home supervision. So he threw that shit out there. And, of course, I'll go look it up. Ojeda. Ojeda. So nice try, Drop. But what you haven't missed, and I'm sure many of the choppers haven't, and thank you, Danita, for calling in. But, Nate, this is all part of the other part of the culture war. Critical race theory, Black Lives Matter. Now it's all about judges. Black Covedale, I'll give him a little credit just for putting something factual in the chat. He brought up Joe Deters. Joe Deters was down to Dow just yesterday. Oh, by the way, sounding drunk as hell, Nate. I mean, really? he was like 3 beer Melanie Bates. Oh yeah, sound drunk as hell. And it was like, I think I even put it on Twitter, like, it's 12:57, man. You sound up. I mean, he did. You could slur in the speech and everything. But anyway, Joe Deters, and he's been on this, him and Dan Hills, for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, of how in the last election, Cincinnati voters got rid of 136 years of judicial experience. You feel me? Talking about Dinka Locker and whoever the other ones is. And, we got these new woke judges coming in, and this is all part of, defunding the police. This is their new cultural play. You see where I'm coming from, Nate? You see it. Mm-hmm. So then the amazing thing is we expect the Republicans and the right-wing fascist conservatives to play the hate card and, the anti-black card. But again, the brothers out there, why you got to be that dude? You, the pound puppies, I told you, y'all don't have a legacy of being one cuz. Remember one cuz that was caping for Donald Trump. Remember one cuz that wore the medium T-shirts. Remember one cuz with the Amadeus wig. Remember one cuz supporting Jim Neal. Remember one cuz that was protesting outside the NAACP meeting. Remember one cuz that didn't support the sister who was an obvious progressive, but now they trying to play the I'm on Wendell Young side. I'm trying to help a brother out type shit, like on some Smitherman, Caitlyn Jenner BS. But that's what they're doing. So you're liable to find that judge out there that released somebody on a OR bond, and they went out and that happens. We get that. But to try to make this cultural play again, pandering to white resentment and white fragility, and you got brothers caping for them, which I really don't understand. You're doing your little Hercules bit, but this is their play, Nate. So, and folks, in case you haven't figured it out, the caravans are gone. They back to blaming black people again. Yeah, that's always going to be the play. That's always, okay, we came down hard on the Mexicans. We separated the kids and the families, but, let's go back to our good old good one. Blaming black folks, pandering and gaslighting to white resentment. What we're seeing now in 2021 is nothing but the new improved version of the Southern political strategy. Nate, I got 1 minute, man. Hopefully in the end you get what I'm spitting. Petty peace.
Appreciate the call. Appreciate it. So Glenn checking in. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So Drop called in and made the most ridiculous statement that judges are just letting murderers go in Chicago and California and around the country. That people out here committing drive-bys and all kind of murders, and then judges are just letting them go. We need to be locking more people up. So I challenged him to send me links to these articles since it's so prevalent. This man sent me a link. Look at the title of the article he sent me. California judge orders no bail for man charged with the murder of a 6-year-old boy in a road rage shooting. Doesn't that prove my point and challenge your point, Drop? Why would you send that as a part of your evidence? California judge orders no bail. You just sent me evidence arguing against your own point, man. You could never be a lawyer. You could never go into a courtroom because you're coming to the courtroom and present evidence that would get your clients goose cooked. You get your clients straight sent to jail, man. Double check your homework. Damn it. Going back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Yo, good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Who am I speaking with?
Can you hear me?
I do hear you.
This is Jesse.
Hey, what's up,
JR.
Jesse?
Hey, I can't say it. I just wanted to just call you and say thank you for keeping it real the other day when nonsense was going down with my bride and saying how she did bring home the bag, and she did. She works hard, been working hard for 20 years for literally zero. And so when we have somebody that's battling, the best thing we can all do is just help them battle, cheer on. But the worst thing we could do is run our mouths negatively and give the other side, the opposition, something to work with. And also, it just bothers me that black men, us, we have so much vitriol. Like my wife said, she said vitriol, just so much badness for our sisters. But the other side can give away millions of dollars as they did last week. I ain't heard one person say anything negative about them at all. I haven't heard one negative comment about the council who offered up some money in the beginning and then took it back and said, you don't really, this is all you get. And we're, about half of the city, about 98% of the people who get brutalized by the police. And then when we have something that can work and will work, we spend our time tearing it down. That's ours. The Citizens Complaint Authority wasn't created by some white man in some tower. The Citizens Complaint Authority is the result of one of the greatest democratic actions I've ever been involved in. It was black people, not minorities and some other people. It was black citizens of city of Cincinnati who decided enough is enough. And we're going to sue your ass and take you to court. And we did. And we was told you can't sue City Hall. Well, you damn lie, we did. We got a federal lawsuit, one of the greatest in the land. It still stands up as one of the largest racial profiling settlements ever. And so in that 20 years, we still have a person at the table that represents the community. She don't represent the minorities. She don't represent the one legs, the two legs, the one eyes. She represents black people. The thing that we always say that we want. We got it. Done had it for 20 years. And now when the rubber is hitting the road with the dollars to make sure that people don't, when they do get brutalized, we can hold somebody accountable. We got clowns coming on talking about absolute nonsense. I didn't hear nobody threaten not nary a white man or white woman for doing anything to anybody black. But I certainly hear threats to black women, not only a black woman, but a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a damn active citizen, very active citizen. That's what activist means, an active citizen and a reliable voter, taxpayer. Those are our dollars that they hand out. And we deserve every damn dime that's going on down there. Every dime. And decorum doesn't mean a hill of beans when you got to get what you got to get. It's called guerrilla warfare. If we use decorum to get the lawsuit, we wouldn't have no lawsuit. The Cincinnati Black United Front always cuss people out, especially the authority, because without no aggression, there will be without no struggle, there is no progress. I don't care if you're red, black, green, or blue. Without no struggle, there will be no progress. My bride, my wife, I am very proud of, because she goes down and gets the job done. Now, people can hem in and they can haul, but when I see her sitting in the middle of the bed calling them council people, lobbying for black people, and then the job gets done, my chest is big. And it makes me only more resilient to do the two jobs I have in my life, and that is to provide and protect. And I just wanted to make that very, very clear as we go forward. And certainly to say I appreciate you, brother, for showing manhood in the face of madness and clownery. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the call. It's Jesse Rowley calling in. I appreciate it. Oh, that's easy to do, man. Only know one way to do it. That's 100%. That's it. That's it. We're going to be 100 here on the show. So let me get back to this real quick. Looking at Drop, he sent me here's a Concealed Nation attempted murderer released without bail in New York, goes on to shoot 3 more people. So basically, looking over this article real quick, they're criticizing the whole concept of no cash bail. Apparently, this person is writing that Darius Sutton committed 3 more shootings after he'd been released without bail on charges of attempted murder with a firearm in an earlier case. And that's all I'm getting from this article. I don't know the details of what was presented to the judge. I'm going to say this again. Judges in America, in my opinion and experience and observation, are not in the business of allowing violent black people go free. Quite honestly, judges in America, if you look at what I've seen over the years, are in the business of locking up people even when they ain't violent. So, I mean, come on, this ain't working, Drop. But I appreciate the conversation, though. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. It's your boy Vince Pass in the building. What's up, Big Nate?
Hey, what's up, brother? Welcome.
How you been, man? I ain't talked to you in a while.
Can't complain.
So listen, I was listening to everything. Hey, listen, man, I want to run through this real quick. Let me talk to you about this. These guns in school with teachers. Look, man, these teachers go through so much psychological pressure every day. How in the heck do we expect for them to get 700 hours of training, be capable of making a decision, a life decision in a matter of seconds, when they have to watch 30 kids laughing, playing, joking around all day, every day, sitting in the principal's office, sending them to intervention program, all this other kind of stuff, but we expect them to carry a firearm in school to keep our kids safe. Listen, let teachers just teach. That's it. Let them do what they do. It's a selfish job. It's already a hard job as it is that they get no credit for, and they get paid almost pennies to the dollar for. That's the first thing. The second thing I have a problem with, I don't even know why I'm even about to entertain Drop. Let me go ahead and keep moving. He's just hilarious to me at this point. My next point is about T-Pain. Okay, the reason why Usher was so upset was that T-Pain basically put the music industry's dirty little secret out on front. All right, everyone been using auto-tunes. Wasn't that he messed up music? What he did was the fact that T-Pain could really sing, really could sing, because he was originally signed to a group with Bad Boy, and he did a song with Puff. I forgot the name of it, but I'm definitely gonna post it when I find it. And he was singing without auto-tune. Always could sing. Always had a sultry voice, different voice too. Didn't sound like anybody, and still don't sound like anybody, even with the auto-tune. But yeah, he uncovered. Basically, what he did, he put the auto tune on Front Street. But that is what many R&B singers use that cannot sing. Come on now, I'll be sure. Ring a bell. Auto tones. Yeah,
I don't remember. He used auto tunes.
So,
okay,
bruh, check this out. I'll be sure in live cannot sing. You know, anybody ever been to an I'll be sure concert? You was like, huh? Yeah, I'll be sure was one of the many R&B singers that in the early '90s that use auto tune, right? But you won't hear it because it's subtle. The way they use it is subtle. Why do you think they layer tracks? Like an R&B artist could go on the booth, lay down 2 main tracks, but then next thing you know, they layer in about 5 or 6 more other tracks just so they can get a better sound out the voice. Yeah, a lot of that going on. There'll be a lot of little dirty secrets that happen in the music industry that make you think that this artist can really sing until they get live. So, that was just my spiel for the day. And the Britney Spears thing, but she had it bad. She had some real serious psychological problems. But that what you call a conservative? What's that thing? Conservatorship? Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. I've never heard of it. You made me want to go. Look it up.
Yeah,
I'm about to really go look
me too, man. I thought it was deep as well. I'm like, wow, you can do that?
Yeah, you literally control somebody's life, bro.
Legally.
She a $60 million woman. Legally, you control every aspect of her life. But I hope she gets out of it, man, and I hope that But then again, like before, when she had the deep depression that she was going through, the pressure of being a child star. Because I remember she came through Disney. She was a child star, things like that. Then she flipped over to the music industry. A lot of pressure, man. A lot of pressure broke her down. You know what I mean? Then she was going through some situations with her mother. This was even before that. There was a lot of things that took place with Britney Spears. And when she finally broke all the way down, she broke all the way down. And I guess, like you said, based on what you had looked up, that the judge might have felt that it was some serious deep issues that she couldn't control her own life. But then also too, if you don't got doctors that are fighting for you to help you get back in control of your life, it was a lot of shucking the job. It was a lot of moving pieces behind that. It's probably more to that story that's getting ready to drop. We just gotta wait and see on the sideline. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I ain't gonna take up too much of your time. Shout out to all the choppers out there. Shout out to you, Big Nate. Shout out to your baby girl. Happy birthday to her. Much love to you, man. I'll see you later, my brother.
You too, my brother. Take it easy. Appreciate the call. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Shout out to Medium Buddha. She is 16 today. She's 16 today. I woke her up singing to her. Well, she came downstairs, and then when the show was on, I went back upstairs. I took a little break. I wanted to go back and mess with her a little bit. It was right before the show started, actually. Take that back. It was right before the show started. I went back upstairs. I think the intro music was playing, and I wanted to just sing to my little baby girl. It's just amazing, man. She goes from literally used to hold her in these arms together. I used to hold her and rock her in these arms, and she would fit perfectly right here. Right here, she could fit perfectly. To now, she her own little, the whole 9 yards. You know what I'm saying? She got experience and then talking about driving, and she got letters come to the house from colleges and all kind of stuff. It's amazing. Like, damn, time really does move forward, and kids really do grow up, for real grow up. It's quite amazing, man. Just seeing your kids grow up has got to be one of the most interesting things ever. But back to this. So let me go back to this, because Drop's trying to convince us that something's not true. And then these news sources, man. See, I can tell, Drop, part of your problem is your news sources. That's part of your problem. And you could never be my lawyer, because you would present some evidence that would get me locked up. He was supposed to send me links of articles that would prove his point, that judges across America are letting criminals go. Violent criminals are just being released. That is BS. Then he sends me an article from Yahoo News. California judge orders no bail for a man charged with the murder of a 6-year-old boy. Doesn't that argue against your point? And then these articles are, this is from a very questionable site, concealnation.org. Their agenda is to promote what exactly? Lawenforcementtoday.com. What exactly their agenda? I read through the articles here live on the air, and I'm seeing bias. I'm seeing a slant. Let me see here. Chicago Civilian Police Oversight Agency latest releases graphic, shows the moment police confront a nice suspect. How does that have anything to do with your point, Drop? Oh, that was an old one. Okay, that was old. So you sent these 3 today. I don't believe you. You need more people. You need more people, Drop. I don't believe it. Sorry. So white judges are letting black murderers go just because they believe in the cashless bond system. Stop it, bros. Just stop it. Please stop it. It betrays everything we know to be true. Let me see if I got this link here. I think I do. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. No. It's not a song. We're not doing that. Back to your chat. Let me see here. Back up. Vince writes, T-Pain was signed to a bad boy group originally. Usher was pissed at the secret in the music industry was let out. T-Pain mastered the art of auto-tunes to another level. Listen to new music lately. He did. I always liked T-Pain. I don't have no problem with auto-tunes. If it sounds good and it makes me want to dance and it makes me feel something, that's all I care about. Look at Kanye. Kanye came out. He doing all kind of auto-tunes. Nobody had a problem with it. Singers hated on T-Pain just for the same reason Vince said. T-Pain had a great voice and he had a great career because he took technology and married it with his talent and created something whole new. Usher is just mad because who knows why Usher was mad. I wish a mofo would tell me some dumb shit like that. Like, Nate, you killed talk radio because of something you did that people like. Man, I'll laugh in his face so damn hard. If you don't get the hell out of here. I'm talking about you killed music. Well, if music is that sensitive, then I can kill it, then it needs to be dead. Real quick before we roll out, I want to talk about the NBA, man, and just say I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm not happy that LeBron James was eliminated, but since I love that form of athletic competition / entertainment, I love the fact that we got all new people, man. The Atlanta Hawks won last night. I love it. Props to Ice Trae and them boys. I hope they win, quite honestly. It really makes no difference to me. I'm really watching for entertainment purposes right now. But I love the fact you got this new energy, these new faces in the league they're out there balling. And, it ain't going nowhere. Next, somebody going to say, the NBA is not going to last another year, another 5. It'll be dead in 5 years. Yeah, sure, it will be. Hey, listen, if you like this, see, Tracy writes, what about Boys to Men? What about New Edition? You're right about that. But you know what? The difference between New Edition and Boys to Men is significant, Tracy. And I learned this morning watching This Is Pop. Again, it's worth your time. If you like music culture and you into that kind of stuff, if that's of your generation, you'll find it very, very interesting. I can already tell. But the difference between Boys to Men and New Edition is that Boys to Men was way bigger than New Edition. Way bigger than New Edition. In my opinion, New Edition was a black thing. That was our shit. Boys to Men crossed over. They had white girls with Boys to Men posters out there. And it was a significant part of their audience. Black girls and white girls. Not to say that white girls, there weren't some white girls in the New Edition, but primarily that was a black thing. We love New Edition. Black women love New Edition. They didn't really cross over, I don't believe. But what I got this morning, Boys to Men was huge. And I'm sure that New Edition, like if you're a boy band, like if you're a member of one of these boy bands in the 90s, like 98 Degrees, sure, you know about New Edition. Yeah, there was an influence. You know, there might not be a Boys to Men if there was no New Edition. As a matter of fact, some of the members of Boys to Men have said that. Hell, Michael Bivins was their producer and promoter. So there would be no Boys to Men without New Edition, but Boys to Men crossed over. I don't know if New Edition crossed over. What do you think? Did they cross over? I don't believe they did. I don't think they did. I think that's still a black thing. You tell me. So it's a mixed bag right there. Nat writes, Trae Young is the truth. He is. I love his attitude too. I love attitude. Dale writes, not fair, New Edition because of the times, 80s. I mean, look, every group has a group that came before that people built upon it. And just think, back then you had Jodeci. Jodeci, they had a whole different vibe. You know what I'm saying? They was more dangerous and risque with their lyrics. Boyz II Men was these cute little black kids that could harmonize. They wore bow ties and colorful sweaters, and they sang ballads. Jodeci was trying to get into your daughter's pants. And Boyz II Men was trying to steal your daughter's heart. There's the difference. Tanika writes, the difference between Boyz II Men and New Edition is vocals. Boyz II Men was super cold with the vocals, the harmony, right? That Philly harmony, that was what they intended to do. All right. Appreciate you. Listen, thank you so much. Gotta make a move. I know we're gonna leave a little earlier, but it is what it is. I really appreciate you. I'll be back and hopefully better than ever tomorrow morning. We'll chop it up on everything that's going on. You never know who and or what we'll be talking about. Just to give you a heads up, no Is It Just Me podcast tomorrow with Donnie B. She's got some things that she's got to take care of, and hopefully she'll be back next Friday. We'll check in with her. Over the weekend, of course, you guys Straight Talk on Sunday at 10 a.m. Melanin Insights as well, and more podcasts to come. More to come. So keep watching what we're doing at CDM. I really appreciate you. My show today is brought to you by my Patreon page, the Nathan Ivey Show Patreon page. And essentially, we're building black media. You know, I want to have a relationship where I go directly to my audience for your support rather than just, singularly, supporting or relying on advertising dollars or any other form of revenue. I want to go directly to you. If you like what I'm doing, if you support what I'm doing, then perhaps consider becoming a Patreon. All right. Thank you so much. I'll talk with you real soon. Until next time, I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.